Okay, this is now the 5 Minute Tarot for the 11th of July 2017. And today, I'd, I'd like to deal with or talk about you being a tarot reader and promoting yourself and developing greater expertise and practicing with people who pay you to do readings for them. And it benefits you because you just generally become more knowledgeable about this and that, and you're more able to make sensible, wise decisions in any area of life. So it's good for you to become a reader or to be a reader, because it will develop you in all sorts of different ways. And you'll discover things that you actually are interested in that you begin to develop as well. And it's also good for the people that you talk to or the people you do the readings for. And this is because Tess, she asked what I do and do I get repeat business and how do I advertise and so on, because she's thinking about starting a tarot business sometime in the future. So I want to speak a little bit about that. And so, what I do is I do readings over the internet. So people ask me questions, and I record an MP3 file as an answer and email it to them. And then if there's something not clear or if they've got follow-up questions, then they tell me what they are, and I either talk to them or make another MP3 file. Although generally people don't follow up, either because I covered what they wanted to know or else because they hated it and they don't want to talk to me anymore, which is fair enough. Okay, so I will begin by asking them to pick a number between 1 and 9 and tell me which one, and pick a number between 0 and 22 and tell me which one. And I mentioned this before in a previous video a while ago, because it tells me 1 and 9 tells me a planet that's important, and 0 to 22 tells me a major trump that's important. So I've got a starting point that comes from the person, even if they don't consciously know the symbolism of the numbers. They set the ball rolling, so to speak. And I'm confident that I can talk, that I know the background that they're working with at the moment from the two numbers that they chose. So the thing is, I say a planet. So let's say somebody chooses 7. That's the planet Neptune. And that means something to me, but it's not going to probably mean that much to you. But you can always take the number 7 as the 7th major trump. So let's say they choose 7 and 17. For me, that would be Neptune and the star. For you, it might be the Chariot and the star. So you've got 2 major trumps, 2 stories, 2 life lessons, 2 paths to follow that you can talk about, that puts the person in, it gives them an idea of where they are at the moment and what's going on and what's likely to be happening, right? So 7 and 17. Whereas if they choose, let's say 6 and 16, you've got the Lovers and you've got the Tower. So that's a very different kind of situation that the person's in. They're going through difficulties with the people with the Tower, right, and the Lovers. But with 7 and 17, it's more, what do you want to do and how are you going to make a name for yourself? Okay, so I want the 2 numbers. I also want the birth date. But again, that's because I've got a little bit of background. I've actually got quite a lot of background with this astrological stuff. So I can do something with it. So I can tell you what I do, but it's probably not going to be that useful for you. And for you, it would probably make more sense. Pick a card for what to do. Let's say you want to do more readings. Pick a card for what, and you can ask other people what they do, but what works for them won't automatically work for you. Whereas if you pick a card for, okay, what I do for step 1, and you get a card, use the card that you get to help you plan a tarot reading future, or whatever it happens to be that you're looking at, you're not going to, if you want to do tarot readings for people, you're not going to ask for permission and say and ask the question, should I do readings, or can I do readings, or is it a good idea for me to do readings? If you want to do readings, if you had the thought in the first place, what you want to know is how can I do it well, not am I allowed to do it? You're not asking for permission. You personally want to do readings, so you want to know, how am I going to do them well, or what's the best way to start, not are you going to give me permission to start? Okay, so you pick a card for yourself and you use it to figure out what to do and how to go about it. And maybe if you want, make a video of what interpretation you would give for that card. About first you write down the question, because the wording of the question is important. Then pick a card and make a video about what you would make of, what sense you would make of that card for your future with doing readings publicly. And then send it to us and we'll give you some kind of feedback if you want. So that's part of it. The other thing, okay, you'll find one of my sites is the Tarot Book, the-tarot-book.com. And there it costs $9, but there's a lot of information there about the tarot and what it is and how to learn it and how to produce it and how to do readings and so on. So that might be worth a look. But pick a card for yourself. But the other important thing is, because Tess wanted to know, how do you get people? Some people come to me because of this channel. But other people come back, they've got regular questions, and other people come once and I never hear from them again. But I don't advertise really, and I probably ought to, and I'm going to do something with that, partly because of what people have told me in the last 5 videos that people have sent about promoting the channel, and about, I think it was Isabella in Poland who talked about the monastery and not being visible. And I thought, she's right, and I really ought to do something to let people know that I do readings. Only because I know, and you sort of assume that other people will know as well, even though they don't. Okay, so, but the other thing I'm suggesting for everybody out there, and I mentioned this a while ago, I mean like 2 weeks ago, start a blog, all of you. You can get a free blog with WordPress.com. And what you do is you post information. And Tess wanted to know, how do you get people to want to do readings with you? What you do is you put stuff on the internet and they find you. And that's how it works. So have a blog where you talk about the tarot and talk about interesting things and about what you've discovered, what you've found out, what you want to know more about, what you do with yourself, what you do that's creative, what you learned about how to overcome fear, or some, all sorts of interesting things you're involved in. And so put it on a blog, or else have an inexpensive website. You can get it for a few dollars a month. You can go to HostGator, and they'll host it for you, and you put information up there. You've got a phone with video capabilities. You film yourself talking about the tarot, or talking about you and a situation you faced and how you dealt with it, and what worked and what you would do again, and what didn't work and what you really ought to avoid. And other people can watch that video and learn something from it. So they go into a similar experience, but they're wiser because they heard you talk about what didn't work for you. So they think, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make that mistake. So people can learn from you. So for Tess, I would say what you do is pick a card, because you're going to get what's right for you. Right. So you, and then begin to put material onto the internet in a blog or a website, and you've discovered that people find you. And then and over time you develop your own process, we can say. So for me, I get the 2 numbers and I like the birth date, and I also need questions, and I want to know what the person wants to know. It can be as vague as they want, but I do need questions. And then they have to pay, because you should not do readings for free. So they do a PayPal transfer, and once I've been paid, it's not that I want the money, it's because there's karma, and it's protection for both of us, me and for the person who's having the reading. And then I like to do this on my own, because I find that if I'm in the room with somebody and I'm shuffling and I'm picking cards and they're there reacting to what I'm saying, it can be quite overwhelming. It can be really charged emotionally, and I find I've got like 50 thoughts all at the same time, and it's distracting, and it can be hard to keep track of it, because you say something and you can't complete the idea, because the person, you begin to say something and they immediately give you feedback, even though you haven't got to the end of the sentence. Whereas I find that if I do it on my own here in the basement, so I know the question, I pick the cards, I think about it for a bit. Because I remember somebody else, who was it? It was Julie in Manchester, or north of England, she got the Seven of Pentacles, and she went away for a couple of days and thought about it and came back. And that works. So that for me, I don't take 2 days, but I'll pick cards and write down the cards that I get, and then I think about how I'm going to explain or express or describe or answer the questions. And then I record on the computer, and I make an MP3 file, and it's usually half an hour. You can cover a lot in half an hour, and then I send it off to the person. And as I say, if they've got questions or follow-ups, then I deal with them. But I find it's easier and less confusing, and I get things finished if I can just talk, and I can pause the recording if I want, but I don't have to go off at tangents because the person says something, or because they've got an idea or a half-formed idea or a vague fear that they want to include in the discussion. Because I find it's easier if like at the moment here, I'm just talking to you, and I can begin and end, and that's it. And then I give you a complete product, so to speak. And I think it's easier with readings as well. But again, it depends what you're doing. If you go to, let's say, some kind of party or some kind of event, you haven't got time to go into things in detail. So maybe you sit down with the person and you ask them, what's your question? And they say, I want to know, am I going to get married? You pick one card, and based on that one card, you talk about the strengths and weaknesses and the likelihood of marriage. So if you get the Lovers, you say, yes, you're going to get married. And then you talk about something to do with the card to describe the potential marriage partner. He'll be friendly, or she'll be friendly, sociable, like people, good company, and so on. And maybe you pick another card for specific information about that person. Or maybe they want to know, am I going to get a promotion? And you shuffle and you pick a card and you get the reversed something or other. And you say, it looks like it's not going to happen at the moment. So you, based on the card that you get, you maybe talk about why they wouldn't get a promotion, or what would go against them in the interview that they can then fix, or what they need to think about so that they apply for a job that's more suited to them, a job that they can do. You know what I mean? So maybe that's one way to proceed as well, where you've got a group situation and you pick one card per person. But this all depends on, I think that kind of thing would work for me, but it may not work for you. So focus on you, pick a card and see what you get, and begin to think about how the card that you get is the beginnings of a tarot building, so to speak. And it's the foundation that you're going to build on. It can be a good card and upright, which means you've got strengths already developed, so develop them. Or it can be a reverse card, in which case it's indicating first you've got to discover your weaknesses and do something about them. Then you'll be in a better position to build. If you get a reverse card, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. And that goes back to the point I made at the beginning. You're not asking the cosmos or God or anybody or anything for permission. You want to do it. That's all that it takes. If you want to do it, if you have the thought, you have the idea, and you're motivated to want to do it, that's all you need. So build on that, develop it, work on it, produce it, give it energy, turn it into something. A while ago I talked about acorns and oak trees. So think of your idea about being a professional tarot reader. And in the beginning, you get paid something. You know, maybe people give you $1. If you're worth $5, charge them $5. If you're worth 100, charge 100. And it's important that you charge something. So think about the acorn is the little idea of you being a professional reader or being willing to do this professionally. And the oak tree, you know, that's what you're going to become. But you start off as an acorn, which is fine. Okay, I've run out of things to say, so I'm going to stop, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.